Which Alexandra? I have so many Alexandra. Alexandra Came. I don't know. Alexa. Rezolvăm cu codul chiar. Da. A intrat. Ei fac acum pentru codul ăla QR sau e pentru altceva? E verificat codul, nu? L-ați testat. Sigur, acum... În germană se zice Rocket? Da, suntem gata, nu? Eu așa zic. Da? So, mic's on. Despre ce veți vorbi voi? Oh yeah, now it's done. Now, it was yesterday, the first 5 minutes. Fireside defect and AI. I have it. Okay. Hello, hello, and good morning. Is everyone awake? Did everyone have coffee? I would like to introduce our speakers, Luigi and Dan. They will talk with us about deepfake and AI manipulation, if we can trust what we can see. I will give the floor to them. I don't know who wants to start.
Well, in theory, I should start because I should moderate. So
Please.
In theory. Well, I've been asked to moderate this because I have to substitute the foreseen moderator. But with Dan, we know each other for years, so I think that shouldn't be much problem. And the question is fireside chat. I know for a summer day, I would say better is a swimming pool side chat, but okay, we take it. Can we still trust what you see? I hope you will trust us, of course. The title is Deepfake and also AI manipulation. But before that, we was discussing with Dan beforehand. Before going to the deepfake and AI manipulation, it would be nice maybe to give you some fundamentals of what is disinformation, misinformation, how you're coming to this deepfake, because especially the young generation know what deepfake is. I learned deepfake only a few years ago, but I knew before what disinformation is. And actually, I've learned that, to tell you the story, I learned that in 1990 with the first Gulf War. I was postdoc in Munich at the time, and I was watching different TV in the evening, and different TV as I speak certain languages, so I can understand five of them at least, and so watching the news from Iraq were related. And you see that the same images were commented in very different way according to the political interest of the different countries. And There is one which was more objective, which was at the time the Austrian one. But really, then I realized that, hey, there is the same image, so nothing manipulated, no AI, nothing else. Simply the message, the political message was different. Say, that's something which is strange, let me say, at least for a young person like me at that time. And then I understood that really the manipulation of the messages is something important. And progressively, it became something which is linked to this misinformation and disinformation is something linked to cybersecurity. Even if certain countries, like in France, until recently, you know, ANSSI, which is your equivalent, the agency in France, they don't recognize, at least until a few years ago, I don't know now, but this information is not cybersecurity for them. So, but it's weird because also another point in cybersecurity, I usually often mention in my speeches, when cybersecurity became important in Europe, I mean, I witnessed that change because in July 2016, I have created EXO, as I think I said many times yesterday, with the Commissioner. I signed with the Commissioner Oettinger at the time of the European Parliament, the public-private partnership. But that year, that was somehow a constraint from the Commission to, well, constraint, was in the mandate of the Commission for the year to sign that PPP with us. So he was due to, but Commission was not 100% convinced of the interest. Then what happened November 2016? Maybe some of you will remember. There were the first election of Donald Trump. And Trump and Hillary Clinton, they had a certain dispute, let me say, on mails, which are exactly on disinformation created by, okay, you know probably the story. And then suddenly all the politicians realized that disinformation is something important. And cybersecurity became part, and this became part of the cybersecurity approach. So disinformation has since then become also for us, for EXO, but for all the community, something which is not only technically relevant, but also politically relevant, which is, sorry to say, I love technical things, but without the political support, you don't go very far, and you know it quite well. But let me say last word before giving at least for the first question to Dan. Also, try to clarify the difference between disinformation and misinformation. When you read even articles from journalists or you ask AI to give you the difference, sometimes they mix it up in a horrible way. They are not the same thing. They are not the same thing. It's just, suppose that you call security and safety are the same thing. They are not. Safety is when something is happening without your control. Security is something because something is causing a threat. So intentionally. So misinformation is something, maybe a wrong information, that you distribute, you think is correct, you think is right, you just distribute it once again and 10,000 again, and it then became a kind of truth because it has been repeated so many times that people think it's true. But people are repeating that without bad intention. And that's misinformation. Disinformation is where intentionally somebody is creating a wrong information. And deliberately is distributing this for certain interest. So this is disinformation. This is like security. You have a security attack. And then there is something in between, which is, what do we say, half-truth, you know? Those who are telling you half the truth of the story, and then you can interpret as you like. This is also very often disinformation, because they have a clear intention to put you on the wrong track. But they still half true. They don't say something which is wrong, but sufficiently to put you on the wrong track. So, okay, I simply wanted to clarify this point because I think it's very important when you discuss about disinformation, misinformation. So deepfake, clearly, well, deepfake also you can have deepfake in which are not dangerous, let me say. Sometimes somebody who is make some humoristic in the TV, you know, you replicate some person with making jokes or some political jokes, and so that's not that. Or somebody who is singing, an old person, which are that person who is singing a song, simply you replicate thanks to the AI, something which would not ever happen. Are you expecting, by the way, a movie, a full movie soon, made by AI, by using maybe Claire Gable, something like this, driving a spaceship or something like this, you know. But that would be really deep fake, but there's not danger. There's not danger of deep fake. Now I think we are going to talk about something which is really a negative aspect of deep fake and AI manipulation. We try to go with Dan also to see how this, apart from this initial introduction, I would like also to have your point of view. Of course, then we go with some concrete example, because I understood you have serious problem, impact at political level, economic level, and so on. Really example that was really interesting to learn. And then also maybe we discuss about how technology can help. So AI can provoke these fakes, but also can help to find solution to these fakes. So now I talked too much, but simply wanted to set the scene. Dan, tell us about how you see, well, the first, let's say on the basics, continue a little bit on the basics about this disinformation, misinformation, fakes, and so on.
Thank you so much, Luigi. Actually, you may say, why is Dan here and talking about AI and deepfake and so on? Because we all know the Romanian Cybersecurity Directorate does cybersecurity, nothing to do with AI, with deepfake and so on. By the way, do we have any journalists here in the room so we can, no, if not, that's good because we can criticize them. So what happened last year, exactly what Luigi mentioned, we got thousands and thousands of inquiries, messages, mails, everything you can imagine, mainly from media, but not only media. Experts, decision makers, partners, and so on and so on. And people were asking, what are you doing about those deepfakes? Because this is what happened, and that fake movie and that fake video and that fake image bothers me, and you, the director, should do something about it because it's a very serious cyber-related incident and so on and so on. So we realized it's a total mess up and total mix up. And people were mixing up foreign influence with disinformation, with misinformation, with AI, with cyber. And honestly, we as people, the humans, we tend to be to a large extent superficial. When we come across concepts or technologies that are highly sophisticated, fast changing, and so on, we tend to make a very, very rapid equivalent with something that we are reasonably familiar with, and we apply the concepts we are familiar with, the concepts we know, what we learn, we apply to the new topic. So, long story short, we figured out that we should do something. Very, very long internal discussion with quite a number of teams we had, and we came to the conclusion we must do something and let's publish something. And that's why you have a QR code here on the screen that we invite you to take a picture of or to connect and download that document. It's an 8 pages document. And this document has a story that I really want to share with you in a couple of minutes. So, a couple of teams, they were very, very, very hard, and many of them are here in the room, and I would like to thank each and every single of them for their effort. So we made a document, a guide, trying to help a bit the regular user, but also decision makers and journalists and so on, to navigate a bit better, just a bit better, all these very complicated new set of challenges and technologies around deepfakes and AI. And the name, it's exactly this, deepfake, manipulated or informed. And I think like half an hour before publishing it, we took a very, very brave decision to add a small disclaimer on the first page. You are going to see it on the first page. And the disclaimer says, this guide was partially prepared by means of AI. Something very, very simple. Actually, the biggest part made by means of AI is the picture on the first page, because and some definitions. Most of it, the rest was really elaborated and worked very, very, very hard by our team. You cannot imagine what happened. The moment we publish it, inquiries from all over the place. First of all, is this cyber or not? Then, why did you use AI? ChatGPT, DeepSeek was not up and running at that time. Why did you use that in order to create such guides, and so on and so on and so on. So we came in the middle of an entire set of emotions, commotions, stories around the topic. Now, if you allow me to quote Madonna, there is no bad publicity, but publicity. So, in what we are concerned, and I think applies also to the topic of deepfake and AI, it's very, very important to keep the topic in the discussion and to make sure that people debate it and try to understand, and they do reading and learning and deep dive and stuff like that. Now, what we note, and some of those elements, you'll find them in the guide, and we recommend you to save it on your smartphone, share it with friends, share it with colleagues. There are 8 pages. 2 of them is the cover page and the last page, so mainly 6 pages of content. But it may be very, very useful to put a lot of new context and a lot of new, let's say, information in the topic. So, coming to the mix between AI and cyber, what we noted, there are many similarities also. Deepfake, AI, cyber. So, you need infrastructures. If you want to manipulate, if you want to create deepfakes, you need tools. You need how to use them. So knowledge, you need to train, to practice, to do pilots, trial and error, and so on. To a certain extent, and I read very, very interesting research articles made by universities and by researchers, disinformation and the malware, up to a certain extent, they propagate in the same way. They have a target group, they get amplified, and they get spread, and they jump from computer to computer and from infrastructure to infrastructure and so on. So there are many, many similarities in the way the modeling of malware propagation and disinformation propagation happen. And here the academics are amazing in doing this kind of research. As I said, infrastructures and tools. You need tools. But also, if you look on the side of the malicious actors, they also have objectives. They target or micro-target with their disinformation and misinformation, and they make it credible. And let me shoot back to you one simple question and simple challenge. It is, let's say, a team of researchers that set up a honeypot. Are they doing manipulation, disinformation towards malicious actors, of course, by simulating infrastructures and hoping that they will try to attack it? Maybe yes, maybe not. So my takeaway is that whether we like it or not, we come across very similar concepts, very similar techniques, very similar tactics, protocols, way of setting up things, operating, and so on. So one takeaway for myself was like, if this is happening anyway, we should rather learn about it and get informed and try to get the basics and get the theory and understand how things are working and how they can be used. But I truly believe on the same side, in the same time, that since the AI came in and it's so easy to use it and to use generative AI techniques and tools to generate whatever type of content, basically the world is never going to be the same. Of course, there are countermeasures and there will be technical elements that will help us. You can do digital fingerprinting of videos and images and stuff. But for the regular user that is processing, I don't know how many hours of videos and clips and photos a day, would be more and more difficult to do it. So at the end of the day, I guess one of the evolutions will be in the direction of developing solutions and services, but trustworthy and reliable, that will help us to easily detect some of those deepfakes. And one last example before I pass back the microphone to Luigi. Actually, two examples. One, my colleagues, they took, I think 1 year ago, one small video clip, like 40 minutes of podcast with me. They throw it into one AI engine. And then I look at myself that I was speaking very fluently Turkish and Chinese and German and Greek and so on. But trust me, I look at myself in the mirror every single morning. I know how I look like. I was not able to tell the difference. I was speaking perfectly and I was telling exactly what I was saying in Romania, but in a different language. So they make it so good that it's almost impossible to detect, almost for a human, I mean, to detect the reality from the fake. So to me, that's one important takeaway. The second important takeaway is that we are still, again, way too superficial in the way we operate, in the way we navigate, in the way we process our information. And I think it would be important to make a collective investment as community, because we were discussing yesterday about cybersecurity as a community, to get very fast the right tools to detect it. And here the example I wanted to give you, actually we run into a couple of those tools some of the legitimate documents, videos, etc. And yes, 80% that's a fake. So we still get a lot of false positive. So we are not there yet in our effort of making the difference between what is fake, what is real in the cyber world. We don't have yet that fully reliable tools for this. And I think this is one of the elements the attackers, the malicious actors are taking advantage.
Thank you. Yes, I was thinking what you said. I think it's very interesting. This, honestly, never thought, but it's so evident that the propagation path of the malware is similar to one of this information, and simply thinking at the very basic, maybe not the deep fake, which is already complex video tools, but simply a phishing. Phishing is a fake. It's a simple fake, and
very rudimentary.
very, yes, and it works very well, and it goes, it propagates. It's a malware in a sense, and in the sense that it's negative, and it's a fake. So it's exactly. I mean, this is evident that the paths can be similar.
Absolutely, and honestly, since the professional community found ways to fight against phishing, against malware propagation and so on, I'm truly comfortable that we will be able to find some adequate countermeasures for deepfakes, manipulation and so on. The only difference is that now it's much bigger magnitude than before. It's a lot more sophisticated, it's going a lot faster, and also honestly, we are not patient enough and we don't have time enough to address it in the most appropriate way.
Yeah, but you know, one of the problems is thinking that apart, well, you are discussing, and maybe we come back to what happened in Romania, also an example. But we are discussing about the, let's say, this malware things. But I was thinking also at those people who want to propagate, let's say, intentionally wrong information. So they create a fake, whatever kind of, only say non-correct information for malicious intention, and they target a group of population, maybe media, maybe young people, who they believe in this, and the initial disinformation propagated by this, especially for young people, which multiply immediately through the social media and so on, this information, what they do is misinformation, because they don't realize that maybe this information is wrong or has bad intentions. So the disinformation is becoming misinformation for those who propagate, but it remains fundamentally disinformation. And this social media can amplify that much bad or a negative information that become the truth. And people are starting believing. And okay, I don't want to mention a certain president that is considering things, well, yeah, all this fight against fake as something positive, because he's changing his mind every day. But okay, so what are your comment?
Maybe one example coming from the Romania recent elections and so on, because what we noted that we as Directorate, we are active in the sense that we provided technical support to authorities that were involved in the process. And one of the most important takeaways for our team, it was that whatever action you take, either to fight a cyber attack or to fight disinformation, manipulation, it's not going to be successful if you don't have a very carefully planned and executed communication campaign. And that's an element that we see both on the cyber world, and it's absolutely obvious on everything that is disinformation, manipulation, and so on. You need to a certain extent to fight fire with fire. You need to communicate appropriately. You need to find the most efficient ways on how to tackle this. And in my professional opinion, one of the most efficient ways is increasing awareness. Will be, let's say, not productive to try to take down every single video that propagates something, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you detect it or not. You may say, oh, that's a fake. This is absolutely clear disinformation or manipulation campaign. But for the malicious actors, it would be absolutely easy to just move it from one server to another, from one channel to another, and do it again and again and again and again. And by the moment you try to take down one video or one user account, or to block it by using the legal means, of course, they spread it 20 times in 10 hours. So one of the most important ways to counter this type of manipulation would be, of course, building resilience at the level of the individual user. And I will give you one simple example that worries me a lot these days. Those click fix attacks. So small videos propagated on everything you can imagine, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, etc., where someone says, oh, dear user, you have that kind of computer, go there, enter this command prompt, do this, do that. Go directly to this website with a very simple name, www.123. whatever, and that's it. The moment you get on that website, boom, you get the implant on your machine, whether it's a smartphone or a laptop or whatever. And surprise, people are using and are following those instructions. So someone on the internet is telling you, go there, install this, click here, do that, and people do it. It is manipulation, of course.
Yes,
but no, no deepfake. It's just straightforward instructions.
Yeah, but you know, this comes a little bit to my mind, because I was coming to, because we have a few minutes left, was coming to how exactly the direction of the person, of the single, because it also stays, well, AI can help to identify, but also is the education of the single person to do something, to compare. As I said, in my initial example, I was checking 5 different TVs to see what was the truth. So it's a comparison, it's already a tool. And even today, when I was started working on AI, on chat for my job, making market studies, but clearly AI is sometimes was at least hallucinating, you know, with certain results which were impossible. So I started to use one to compare. I went up to 8 to compare 8 different AI chatbots to see what could have been some reasonable results. So comparison is very important. But one of the problems I see is that maybe we are specialists, informatics and so on, so we know that we have a sensitiveness. But the citizens, the normal citizens, is just believing what AI is telling. And as you said, they're following without thinking too much. They don't then put in question the AI. And this will be a major problem when the people say AI it could be a danger. AI could be a danger if you don't think with your brain.
On the other hand, I truly believe a lot of solutions may come from the cyber world. Let's not forget, we are the ones that invented fancy concepts like trust but verify, zero trust architecture, and stuff like that. So a lot of technical and non-technical concepts that IT people, information security people have developed in order to fight technical problems, fundamentally technical problems. Those concepts, of course, properly adapted, supported by the right technologies and so on, could be used in order to fight disinformation, manipulation, and so on. I still believe, and the way we see it, simple cyber hygiene and basic user education is solving 80% of the phishing and spear phishing cases. The same way, basic education, basic awareness may protect we as users, as regular people, from 80% of the, let's say, obvious manipulation, obvious disinformation, etc. But it's going to be a long-term battle, a long-term education process that we have to be aware of it. It's not going to be easy. And unfortunately, to a certain extent, that's the new reality we are living in.
I trust. Indeed, if I give my experience, compare your sources, check, think with your brain, and don't trust what you see. What is, can we still trust what you see? No, don't trust it. As you say, zero trust.
I don't trust our volunteers that tell us we are out of time. So I trust Alexandra. We compare sources. I'm joking. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for this.
So, are we taking questions? Does anyone in the room have any questions for our speakers?
No, for Dan.
For our speaker.
Yes, we strongly recommend you try to take the test. It's funny because we are promised fun here. So let's.
Yes, I took it.
It's
a
a funny test, and we recommend it, and that's why we'll appreciate it as a very, very big favor you make to us, to the directory, to the cyber community, and so on. Just spread it and share it. It's fun and will help a bit. And honestly, if we succeed to get better prepared, 100 more users, 200 more users, and we make them think a bit more about this mix of deepfake, AI, manipulation, etc., we're going to be in better shape, all of us.
So I hope everyone, Dan convinced you to trust him, so you can click on that. It's not bad. It's not. Thank you, everyone. I would like to invite Sophie Vorpio. She will talk with us about cyber burnout, how to manage stress in a high-pressure industry.
Working? Yeah. Yes. Not working. Right. Just give us a minute, please. We're connecting the. Yeah. If Bogdan is here by any chance. All right. I'm going to get started anyway. All right. Bună dimineața, Constanța. That is pretty much the extent of my Romanian. That and mercy, which is the same as French. I'm French. It's very good to be here today. My first interaction, actually, with the Romanian team here, with Dan, Fraga, that happened 5 years ago. And ever since, I've always wanted to visit you guys in Bucharest. Now, it sounds like destiny decided otherwise. I'm very happy to be in Constanța today, here with my family. We had our first dip in the Black Sea. And thank you, Fraga, so much for the invitation today. It's a real pleasure to be with you. The second reason why I'm so happy, yes, so first time in Romania, very happy to discover this beautiful country, the people here. We've been very well received everywhere we went. And finally, when Fraga asked me to talk about burnout and stress in cybersecurity professionals, well, I was elated because that's a topic that really, really passionates me. I've spent the past 20 years accompanying leaders through uncertainty and change. I've done it in different capacities, as a consultant, working for a Big Four, as a change agent and change leader, transformation leader, working for banks in the US, in New York. And today I do it as an executive coach and leadership trainer, working with leaders from different industries, but mostly tech, consulting, and finance. Now we're gonna change this, thank you. Do you guys know, you probably do, that it takes on average 207 days to detect a breach? But when it comes to burnout, the numbers are not so clear. And actually what we found out is that most of the time, burnout is detected either very late or even never. I speak of experience. As an entrepreneur, I believe I was hit by burnout. It was more than 10 years ago. But nobody diagnosed me. I hardly knew what it was, so I was not in a position to know what was going on, right? Now, it's very interesting. Yeah, okay, let's do that. Let's do a quick check, a quick pulse of this population. So I'm going to open a quick survey here and see how you feel about, stress. All right. Sorry. We're going to do this very quick survey. I'm going to ask you to scan this. It's going to take just a minute. And see a little bit what the room temperature is. All right. Thank you. I'm going to ask you to scan this one. I'm happy you're trusting me as well. I'm not going to ask you to download anything, though. So you don't have to put your name. You can just put some kind of pseudonym. There's nothing to win, okay? This is not a competition. This is not the higher the better. Neutral. But I'm going to ask you to be very honest in your answers, okay? It's trying to do something a little bit scientific here. I love that we have the chosen one in the room. All right, let's go, no? We have Wonder Woman as well. All right. We're going to see the results. 2, 1, and so how would you rate your current level of burnout related to your cybersecurity work? I realize that some of you are not yet in cyber, aiming for cyber, transitioning to cyber, but hey, we're getting some good answers already. And then we're going to compare it to published, numbers and see how it looks. This is good. 82 answers, 83, 84. Here we go. All right. So we have 20 people, happy people who report no burnout at their job today. Good for you. We have moderate burnout, 25 people. Severe burnout is actually 3%. No, is it? Sorry. The color code is not so clear. No, mild burnout is actually 31%. High burnout, 13%, and severe burnout, 3%. All right, so that shows us that the topic actually is of relevance to a lot of you guys today. So don't worry, I'm hoping we're going to go through neuroscience, understanding what happens in the field, why is cybersecurity such, a high burnout risk profession. But more interestingly, we're going to learn how to cope and how to develop strategies that work. I assure you, we're going to go into elite athletes, what we can learn from sports. We're going to go into tech leaders and what we can learn from that. And I've been talking to a lot of CISOs. I've been talking to a few cybersecurity rock stars, and I'm going to share with you all the the knowledge and the wisdom pearls that I got from those interactions. So we're going to go next and see. Yes, those are the numbers. 68% of cybersecurity professionals, those are not once in your lifetime. This is currently right now at your job, and that was a SoSafe 2024 survey that was conducted in Europe among 1,250 safety professionals. 68%, of which 32 report high levels of burnout and 32 mild levels of burnout. That number kept me thinking a lot. Yeah, so I'm very happy to be here again. Moving on a little bit, I was curious after this, and I was like, can we compare what's going on in other sectors? And I was especially curious to know how does it compare with education and healthcare, right? Which are very, very high burnout prone industries. And you guys will be surprised, maybe as I was, to see that cybersecurity reports even higher levels of burnout than healthcare and education. It is much higher than the rest of the tech sector, if you see, right? And it's obviously much, much higher than the rest of, the most service-oriented professions. So there is something real going on. And maybe we can look into understanding a little bit more the why, although I believe you guys perfectly know what's going on, right? But again, the same study showed this, right? People reported very high level of workload, being on call 24/7. They also reported being on a constant firefighting mode, right? This alert mode. This is not healthy for our body, right? And what is insufficient staffing? We talked a lot about the talent scarcity, right? We talked a lot about it yesterday, actually. Almost 4 million globally in the workforce missing. That makes you guys pretty much like highly, highly needed, right? So something that is not on here and probably should be, there's two things. Not feeling, rewarded or recognized is also something that is very obvious in the profession. As a CISO, nobody tells you, good job, nothing happened to us, right? But you may get fired if something happens, right? So this is a very hard place to be. And then the second one that also was discussed yesterday a lot is also that you guys evolve in a constantly changing environment. The most reported changes are related to AI. We talked a lot about them today, even this morning, right? But there's so many things. Even like the geopolitical situation is affecting drastically this profession, right? So those are the reasons why cybersecurity professionals are more exposed to burnout than many other professions, and probably the most exposed. Yes. Now let's see. Is there such thing that exists as good stress? What do you guys believe? Can be constructive. Hey, how? Stimulating, yeah? So do we believe here there's such a good thing as good stress that is stimulating, maybe helping us get activated? Yeah, we believe that, right? Do you know how it's called, by any chance? It's called eustress. Not like eustress, no, like EU stress, like euphoria, you know, the Greek EU. EU stress being the contrary as distress, right? So there is such thing as good stress, this is EU stress. Now we're going to move on. I forgot to tell you, we're going to have a quiz after this, and there's going to be a prize. So I invite you to pay attention. Right? Not helping anyone right now. So this is what happens with stress, though. There is such thing as a good stress, but we're constantly exposed to stress with no break. This is where we move to the orange and then red zone, right? And red zone means burnout, it means disease, it means not being able to react anymore, right? Do we know what stress does to our body? What I mean by this is prolonged, you know, like exposure to stress. Do you have an idea? So that's what happens, right? Mostly cortisol and adrenaline levels raising in our body, right? Again, sometimes not a problem at all. It keeps us like energized and motivated. But when constantly, you know, high levels, you know what happens with stress? What happens is it increases our blood sugars. It increases our blood pressure. And it takes this energy away from non-vital functions. Non-vital functions being, for example, immunity, fighting disease, reproduction, right? Or even thinking clearly. So that is exposed stress and what it does to our body. So we'd rather pay attention, right? So I want to ask you, do you know when stress is too much? Do you even pay attention to what's going on in your body? Do you even detect when it's getting to those levels, right? Sometimes we don't even pay attention. And then what are the strategies that you develop to do something about it, right? That's what we're going to see. Yeah. A small introduction of the concept, you know, stress versus burnout. We understand that stress goes with activation, right? But what happens with burnout is pretty much the contrary. Burnout is a lack of, and it happens at 3 levels. It's emotional, it's physical, and it's social. Emotional, when you guys are in burnout, you probably lack empathy. You're not in a position to listen to people, feel what they feel. Those kind of things just don't happen anymore, right? The second thing that doesn't happen is actually feeling inner peace, sleeping correctly. And finally, when it comes to the social, as leader, this is terrible what happens. When we're in burnout mode, and I see that with CISOs actually, CISOs managing a big incident, they go into, many of them anyway, micromanaging mode. Horrifying for the teams. And obviously you also lack presence, right? Your charisma going through the drain, right? This is what burnout does. Now, what is it that we can do? We're not going to stay here, don't worry. I see the energy right now, woof, burnout mode. We landed it. Now, what can we do for ourselves, for our teams, for our organizations, maybe even for our country, right? Or for Europe, right? By taking care of ourselves and for our community. That's what we're going to see today. That seems familiar, I would assume, right? Information security, capabilities, you've been taught, right? It's usually good to separate, right? If you designed, you're probably not in a good position to defend and vice versa, right? So that's what you've been told. Well, we're going to base this presentation on those 3 pillars. We're going to talk about mindset, that's going to be our design. Then we're going to go into building resilience, that's going to be how we're going to operate. And finally, we're going to talk about healthy boundaries so we can defend. Now, I have bad news for you guys. Because there's no one picking one over the others. We're going to have to do all 3 simultaneously. Right? All right, so challenging the rules. Let's start now with shifting our mindset. So we're going into design phase right now. To help you to maybe remember, it's not going to be about perfection. I hope you understood that already. And we can maybe remember that it's about aiming for better. Going with this with a strong intention. We're going to talk about acceptance. accepting the situation as it is, because there's many things that you guys cannot do anything about. The second thing is going to be about influence. So on the contrary, what is it that you can actually influence, change, lobby for, and that's going to give us some hope, obviously, and freedom for action. And finally, we're going to talk about mastery. Let's talk about acceptance. Yes. Does it ring a bell maybe for some people in the room? Santiago de Chile? No? 2018, May 24, it was a crisp, fall morning in Santiago de Chile. I was living there not a few years before that. And suddenly, in Banco de Chile, one of the leading banks in Latin America, it was a normal kind of morning, everybody at their desk and doing their operations. And suddenly, the printers starting to go crazy. Little by little, other weird manifestations, black screens, and everybody thinking that there was some kind of IT incident, right? But what was truly happening was actually hackers attacking the SWIFT interbank system and actually using it to steal $10 million. Wiring it to banks in Hong Kong, not a bad deal, right? Wiring it to banks in Hong Kong, and that's how it went. Well, it took a while to understand what was going on, first off. And second, well, it was a big lesson for the whole banking system in Latin America. I'm not going to go into all the learnings, but there were so many of them. Now, I got very lucky because as I was preparing for this presentation, I got to meet the CISO. We're going to change. I got to meet the CISO who was actually asked to save the situation. So he was lucky maybe that he was not the one who contributed to creating the mess, I guess, but he was the one who was asked to be the savior, right? So interim CISO, his name is Fermin Uribe, and I had met Fermin actually in Chile back in probably 2014. I was working with his company, DreamLab. So Fermin is the coolest guy in the planet, Big responsibilities for sure, but he's as chill as a cucumber in your fridge, I swear. So with Fermin, I had the longest conversation. I had asked for 30 minutes of his time. He gave me almost 2 hours. Yeah? And we had a really exhilarating conversation. And something that I really resonated with me in what he said, lots of pearls of wisdom, he said, you know what? When it comes to cybersecurity, we have to revisit the promise, because it's a very poorly crafted promise. The moment you tell your organization or your clients that they're protected, you create unrealistic expectations, right? The only thing that we can promise is that, hey, you have a team that is prepared, and you have a system that is resilient so that when attacked, it will get back, and we're going to do it as quickly as possible, humanly possible, right? So this is about acceptance. Nothing is going to change about that. You're always going to work in organizations or for clients where budget is never going to be enough, right? I assume you're not going to say the contrary. You're never going to be given the staff that you need to do this really well. But there is a balance that we have to strike between what it takes to grow a business and what it takes to protect it, right? So the second is influence. What can also really help us in terms of mindset is focusing on what we can truly influence. And there's this concept that is very, very helpful that I'm going to introduce you to in coaching. But first off, I live in Madrid. And anyone has been to Madrid? Yeah, a few people, yes. So this is a buzzing city, right? This is Plaza del Sol, and this is Gran Via. Those places, they're filled with happy people and noise and music or anything like this on any normal day. Now, that was Madrid in March 2020, right? COVID hit, and we had one of the toughest I forgot the name, where you have to stay at home and the lockdowns. We had one of the toughest lockdowns, I believe, in the world. We had to stay 3 months, for 3 full months at home. Imagine my daughter was 3 years old, She could not leave to go to the park, impossible. The only reason why you could leave your home alone was to go to the supermarket and buy food for your family. Or if you were lucky to have a dog, then maybe, right? So what happened in this day was fascinating because you had, well, many people got very depressed because the government didn't seem to know what they were doing, or the city. They changed strategies on a daily basis. The hospital were exploding. They couldn't attend us, right? So many people got into depression mode, but then some other people during this period were actually flourishing. And those people were those who were helping the grandma living next door and doing their, going to the supermarket. They were pivoting their businesses, and they were like, what's going on here? And it's very simple to understand. There's this concept from Stephen Covey, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I see that some of you know the book. And it states that, whenever we are in what we call the circle of concern, when we focus on things that we can do nothing about, like governmental decisions, or maybe some people in the room actually can, but most of us we can't, right? Well, we get into desperation mode whenever things don't go our way, right? But if instead we put our focus on what we can actually influence, even partially, this is where we develop hope and energy to actually go and get it, right? So changing the focus, super important. And as we increase our circle of influence, this is on the right, we develop ownership. When we give the hands of our mood to external factors that we cannot control, this is where we become a victim. So we have to be very careful in where we put this focus, right? So remember, circle of influence and circle of concern. Right. Thank you. The last one, we're going to talk a little bit about mastery. Mastery as, feeling that we can accomplish something, achieving, right? And this is my good friend Laura. Laura is a cyber professional, is another woman for cyber woman, actually. We met in Chile, but she's French. Now she lives in Spain. Wondering if she's following me somehow. And Laura was telling me, for cyber security professionals, they should probably aim for spending 30 to 40% of their time training themselves, practicing, reading books, going to conferences, and talking to the community. That's an awful high amount of time, right? 30 to 40%. When you look to the metrics, usually it's between 20 and 40, right? But she's demanding. She's just like that. And then, obviously, what it takes to be a successful, cybersecurity professional, very important to develop what we call a growth mindset. So thinking that I am the way I am today, but I'm going to be different tomorrow. I'm going to gain so much knowledge in the meantime. Maybe I don't know about this just yet, but I know I have the capacity to develop that, right? I don't see myself as being so finite, and the way I am today is not the way I'm going to be tomorrow. This is a concept developed by Carol Dweck from Harvard University. Some people know it, I can see. And actually, Carol Dweck was opposing it to what we call a fixed mindset. Fixed mindset is having this very, very, still version of myself. I cannot do this, I'm not able to, and this is good enough, usually also satisfying ourselves with little, right? So let's go for this growth mindset. And something else that Fermin told me, the CISO from Banco de Chile, is that when it comes to cybersecurity, and I think it's very helpful, scars are they're more worth than victories. And this is because scars, they lead to learnings. The moment you have scars, you have experience, right? And those scars are going to be what are going to allow us to be successful tomorrow. So we need to take risks, we need to start doing new things, we need to put ourselves in different situations, and we need to be very hungry for learning. I know you guys evolve in a very, what we call a VUCA environment. It's volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex, and it's also very ambiguous. And everything on the job market shows that the people who are doing the best in those kind of environments, they're very agile. They're very collaborative in their approach. We talked so much about community. We're going to talk about community again. they're resilient, they know how to manage their stress. And because they know how to manage their stress, they're also good, they have a good emotional intelligence. That's what makes us thrive in a very uncertain environment. Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. Another person I met to prepare for you guys today, his name is Enrique Serrano, and he's the founder and CEO at Hard Rock. And I wanted really his approach on leadership and team leadership, because if you guys need to have a growth mindset, you also need to be accompanied by leaders who encourage that, right? And that means leaders who create some kind of what we call psychological safety. And I was asking him, how do you do that? Psychological safety is a topic that really fascinates me. Well, he said, first off, I listen to my teams, right? Empathy. I manage my own stress. He gave us a lot of tips that we're going to share later. But also, I give them freedom. They need one more day, I give them one more day. I ask them, how much time do you need to do this, And so that also something that, as leaders, we have to empower for our teams to really thrive, right? Now, very interestingly, we just talked about mastery, and we talked about influence or self-determination. And we already checked the box on 2 of 3 of the most innate, most foundational psychological needs that we have as human beings. We need to be able to shape our destiny or our journey. And we also need to feel like we accomplish things along the way. We're going to talk later about belonging through community. So really developing this growth mindset, developing this aim mindset is what's going to help us, go there, right? So accept what you can change. Basically, focus on what you can truly, truly influence. Set realistic expectations with your clients, with your bosses, right? It's difficult, but just making them clearly understand that's, we're not going to accomplish this, but we're going to do this, this, and that instead, and that's the realistic thing we can do, right? Growth mindset, and as leaders, model psychological safety. 15 minutes into or left? Okay. Let's move on. All right, so we're gonna change that. The second phase is about building resilience. Let's go. We're going to talk about body, presence, and mind. Anyone familiar with BPM as an acronym? I come from Six Sigma, no BPM? Maybe, but the one I know is about business process management. And it's because resilience is truly a process. It's actually a daily process. This is something you should have in mind in the way you conduct your days. So the past 5 years as well, or maybe 4, I've been working with elite athletes. And it's been really amazing to learn from them the best practice when it comes to resilience. And a lot of what I'm going to say is going to come from what I've learned from interacting with a world champion in Muay Thai or European champion in Muay Thai. And they talk a lot about all pillars, not just the body, but also the mind. So let's start with the body. Your body is a resilient system. And to do that, you will need to focus on all of those pillars, right? I don't think you're going to learn anything new here, but we're going to talk about sleep. We're going to talk about exercising. We're going to talk about nutrition, but also how to recover. Super important. So when it comes to exercising, the good news is that it doesn't take a 2-hour session to go to the gym and change and shower and everything. Actually, 5 minutes and the floor, you have your gym, and I can share it with you later if you want. You can have a practice that in 5 minutes addresses the core, the strength, the cardio, and the mobility. All of it in 5 from those guys. So it's not so hard to start embedding more exercising in our days. Cardio recommendations for children. The World Health Organization recommends 1 hour of high activity per day. That means running, swimming, sports team sports. For adults, the numbers are slightly different, but we still need maybe 2.5 hours of high intensity training or 5 hours of moderate, like walking, every week. That's what we need as a system to be more resilient. And then, very important, we need to recover. I think that's the best thing I've learned from those athletes and interacting with them. We saw that stress, just when we keep adding stress to stress, we go into the red zone. So we need to build those buffers into our days and our weeks where we just stop, connect with ourselves. And we're going to talk about two kinds of recoveries. There's the physical. That means, I don't know what you guys do today when you need to recover. Any strategies that you like? There's the Netflix on my couch strategy. It's called passive recovery. But not necessarily the best one, right? Yeah. It's much better to go for a walk in nature, even 5 minutes, so much more better to maybe take a cold shower. I don't know if you guys have tried that. This is amazing. You can do it in the morning, you can do it in the evening. Hydration, we forget to drink when we're so busy, right? Saving the world. And then, again, any kind of light activity. And also mentally. I don't know what it works for you. For me, cooking works. It's tremendous. I even don't put any music. It's distracting me. I just like to cut my veggies and be into that and nothing else. So just creating moments like this in our days where we can just be with ourselves, the movements, feel our body, be with our thoughts, that's extremely helpful. How about sleep? How is sleep? Do you wake up at night? Yeah, you do, some of you. How is the quality? Do you know between the REM, the deep sleep? Do you know we need at least 1 hour of deep sleep a night? Now, everything I told you so far, I've been implementing because 3 years ago, I noticed I had 20 minutes of deep sleep a night. So I had to make some adjustments. I'm now over 1 hour. I'm very happy about this achievement. But it took a lot of adjustments on everything we discussed so far. And then nutrition. Nutrition and sleep very related as well. There's what we eat, of course, but there's also the when, the frequency. The recommendation is to eat our dinner 4 hours before we go to sleep, not always realistic, but just to have this in mind. A heavy meal right before going to sleep, terrible for sleep. Alcohol before sleep, terrible. How about caffeine? Do you know how much time it takes for coffee to clear away from our bloodstream? How many? How many hours? Give a number. 7? 6? 8? 10. 10 is what it takes. Yeah, I was telling Dan, I take my last coffee at 11 or 12. Yeah? Now, some people are more sensitive than others, right? But 10 hours to clear completely from your bloodstream. So something to have in mind about our afternoon, 5 p.m. coffee, right? And then let's talk a little bit about presence. Being present, being engaged, being able to really listen. I also wanted to show you, I'm a bit freaky about neuroscience, but this is what being present and practicing meditation, mindfulness, this is what it does to our body. So it has a lot of implications on our hormones. It reduces our stress, cortisol and adrenaline, as we saw before. It increases our neuroplasticity, and it even helps actually the creation and the creation of the increase of gray matter density. It takes it away from the fear center of our body, and it gives more in all the areas that help us control emotions and focus and problem solving. So in other words, it's probably a good practice to start, meditating and see how it works for you. Do it for a few weeks to really start noticing the results. You're going to be more focused, you're going to be more alert, you're going to be more engaged with your team members, you're going to be a better companion, all of this, and less stressed. So do you want to be a werewolf or an aware wolf? I'm going to let this one simmer. All right. And finally, let's work on our mind. This, for me, was the most mind-blowing insights from the world of sports. So again, I work with a Muay Thai athlete. He doesn't look like this in real life. He's actually a very kind person. And what any boxer will tell you, kickboxing boxer actually, and even elite athlete, is that the way you think about yourself and the way you speak to yourself is going to have a vast impact on your results. So reconnecting often with why you do what you do. Cybersecurity is a beautiful profession. Whether you do it because you want to make the world a safer place, or if you just do it because it's playful and it's fun, just reconnecting with this emotion every morning is probably a very good resource, right? When things get hard, you know why you do what you do. Second, this is what we sometimes do in training. So we go to companies and we ask people to wear shorts and sneakers, and we have them train. And this is what we call a blank challenge. So you have to stay as long as you can. And guess what? What people noticed after staying here 5 minutes, 6 minutes, it all depends on what you're telling yourself. If you're doing your plank and you say, hey, I'm not in good shape, I'm not gonna be able to hold it, or I don't wanna be the first one to actually fall on the floor, that's probably not gonna be very helpful. And this is what the losers always tell us. This is how they talk to themselves. Now, if you talk to yourself in a gentle mode, or what we call affirmation, I can do this, right? This is the winner mindset. So really it's time to pay attention. How do you speak to yourself? And really also proactively speaking to yourself better. It's going to be very, very important. All right? So we talked about the body, the presence, and the mind with all of these pillars. So remember, resilience, again, a daily practice. Now we're going to move now. We're going to do a 2-minute exercise because I feel like the energy is getting lower now. So we need probably a little help. I'm going to ask you guys to stand up. You know this woman, right? She's very famous for something called her power poses. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. I'm going to do it as well, don't worry. So we're going to lift our hands like Beyonce. It can be like this. It can be like this. But hey, we're going to hold this for 2 minutes, and I want you to really, truly enjoy this moment, connect with the music. I hope you like the selection. And enjoy, really.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good. Fish in the sea, you know how I feel. River running free, you know how I feel. Blossom in the trees, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good.
It's a new
great? You want to know what happened inside? You want to know what happened inside very quickly? We have to go back to showing the screen, please. It actually changed the chemical, in your body. Guess what? What decreases? Our big star of the day, cortisol. Yes. But there's also something else that increased. Happiness, blood pressure. Actually, dopamine probably, but the winner is actually testosterone. So think about a 25% reduction in cortisol and also almost 25% increase in testosterone. This is not just for men. This resource, this power pose, super helpful before a big presentation, before an interview, because testosterone is what gives you confidence, charisma. So super resource, it only took 2 minutes. Probably your arms are a little bit sore. That's another topic, right? So going on. The third pillar, we're going to go very quick, but you know a lot about defense, so I'm not worried. Let's go into healthy boundaries. Let's share a little bit the burden, guys, right? You have teams. You have teams, you have lots of platforms to share resources, you have communities. So let's talk about what you're going through. Let's also share about your emotions where the things are getting difficult, right? Sharing the burden, very, very important. Start delegating when you're in a position to do that. Just say it's too much, sorry, I cannot handle this right now, right? Speak openly to your supervisors. Finding your herd, the community. This is what we're doing today, thanks to your efforts, right? Community is such a huge resource. So having people who can give you the tips, the resources, even just listen sometimes. Community, incredible for our defense. Find yourself maybe some mentors, some coaches when things are getting really tough as well. And then this is the magic. This is also what Enrique shared with me. This is what I've been doing for the past couple of years. Start really time blocking and protecting your time very jealously. What is my time devoted to learning and growth? The time dedicated to exercising, and educate your teams around you. Like this time I really need for myself. I can talk to you, but it's going to be in 1 hour. Unless there's a big urgency, of course, we understand that, right? But starting protecting your time, strategizing your time is very important. And as you start doing it, times for meetings, for example, also, if you have any influence on that, really focusing, do I add value in this meeting? Should I even be here? And start challenging people, right? Auditing, refining, looking at the end of your day. Actually, what I do is I revisit my blogs. Did I actually spend 2 hours on this content creation? No, it got to the drain or otherwise because people called me or I was called in meetings, right? So let's see what happens. And let's identify those energy vampires, those that are making your weeks very complicated to manage. And as you do so, keep refining and improving the process, okay? Another resource super helpful, start to work on your stop doing list. What are those things you want to kill from your schedule? Again, they're not adding any value. I could delegate, or they just don't make me happy anymore, right? So that's what's going to allow you to start, right? Share, time block, audit, and then refine. I'm a huge continuous improvement fan. Everything we saw today, just a little bit at a time. Don't try to do the holistic thing at once, okay? And that was our system today. A little bit overwhelming, I realize, but I'm going to ask you to do one thing, one only. Identify one commitment that you want to start doing from today. We talked about a lot of things. Start small. Do you want to start working on exercising, your nutrition, protecting your time better? What is it that you want to do? So think about it. And then we're going to stand up again. I don't like to have people sit too long, so let's stand up. We have a 5-minute Kahoot. You tell me if we can do it. Yes, we can. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do for ourselves, and I want you to let go and get it out, okay? I'm going to say, this commitment that you define for yourself and that you're offering yourself, you're going to say, I can and I will. We're going to do it with arms up again, all right? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. I can. Wow. Constanța, you can do better than that. 1, 2, 3. That was so much better. I think you can do even better than that. 1, 2, 3. That was beautiful. And the mic drops. If you have. That was beautiful, guys. I love that. I know you're going to do it. I trust you, totally. Now, if you have 5 more minutes to bear, there's a prize to win. We have a 5-minute Kahoot. For those of you who want the break, no harm done. Let's go recover, okay? But those of you who want to play, let's. Let's go quickly. We're a little bit less creative right now. Oh my God, there's a Jeffrey. All right. There's that father. Wow. We have guests, guys. Okay, let's do it. Are we ready? 1 minute? Oh, there's burnout. There's burn turnout. Oof. Ready? Let's. Okay. This is time for agility. How is good stress called? We're starting easy. Too easy, I know, but it's gonna get deeper. Now it's gonna be more complicated. Huh? It's a European stress. This is what we're here for. Totally. Good job, good job. All right. B turnout on the lead. What does growth looks like? I want you to be careful because it's actually a multi-answer one. Getting trickier. I'm going to increase the stress level. Good job. It's actually learning from mistakes and improving over time, but also a succession of sprints and steady states to recover. I told you it's going to get trickier. What are some of our most fundamental innate psychological needs? We need to show this. Thank you. Awesome. Great. Mastery, autonomy, and belonging. Recognition, not one of the fundamental ones, interestingly. What does Carol Dweck oppose to a growth mindset? Is it a blocked mindset, a stuck mindset, procrastination, or a fixed mindset? A fixed mindset. Good job, good job. What is the belief that, okay, this one is a little bit, yeah. Remember, with the plank pose, what feeds imposter syndrome, what prevents us from performing. Very good job. I'm not good enough, right? This is imposter syndrome talk. This is what we have to be very careful about. What does VUCA stand for? Remember when we talked about the environment? Uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. What are skills specifically valued in a VUCA environment? It's a multiple answer question. It's everything but the predictive precisely, right? All the soft skills. Emotional intelligence, adaptability, and collaborative leadership. How does the power pose impact my body? This one is a present, guys. You got this one. And then last but one, resilience is about. This one is only one answer. Good job. What are effective physical recovery techniques? And this is our last question. All right, all of them. All right, the last one, sorry, high stress level. This one is also present. High stress levels boost creativity. That's an easy one. I'm hoping. All right, ooh, all right. So Bianca is our winner. I'm gonna ask Bianca to come to the front. Hey, Bianca. I know I'm very mean with my tests, so you did an awesome job. Hello, I'm going to give you a kiss, and I'm going to tell you your presents. So you just won a coaching session with me.
Oh, thank you. Nice, very nice.
You can bring any topic.
I'll think about it.
So give me your email address, and we'll coordinate that.
Okay, at the end of the...
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Before we close, I want to say thank you for the timekeepers. They've been very generous and flexible. So I invite you to connect with those guys. They really wanted to share something valuable to you, and they said, yeah, please, you can share our information. We'll be glad to talk to them. So if you want to engage on LinkedIn, really don't hesitate. I'm going to give you just a minute for that. I know it's a lot of QR codes. You can also just take their names if you want to take the screenshot. So you've been real champs. I truly hope that something stuck with you and that you're going to bring it into your days and that somehow it's going to make it more enjoyable. Stress is not our friend, at least not in the long run. All right, and finally, I'm going to share my own contact details and also invite you to stay in touch. We can always go back to this one afterwards. Okay. It's been a real pleasure to be with you and really enjoy this fantastic festival and this beautiful community. Let's make the most of today. Let's keep talking, all of us. And congratulations for being here on a Saturday. I think that was a great decision that you made for yourself. Thank you again. Thank you to the organizers.
So, thank you, Sophie. And now I'm going to ride that wave because you're all super energized. So we'll take a break and go downstairs and take a picture. So thank you for the exercises. Now everyone is... So we